When then-Senator and presidential candidate Barack Obama said in 2007 and 2008 that he would be open to direct talks with Iran, critics on the right and in the political establishment dismissed the idea as naive, inexperienced, and politically risky. But we're seeing in real time the real tangible consequences of replacing thoughtful, reasonable diplomacy with bold-sounding bumper stickers, bombastic rhetoric, short-sightedness, and impulsive decision-making. The Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, the JCPOA, also referred to as the Iran nuclear deal, wasn't just handed to us on a silver platter. It was the result of painstaking negotiations led by President Obama and Secretary of State John Kerry. Their mission? To curb Iran's nuclear ambitions. But first, they had to get buy-in from the international community, including from unlikely domestic allies like from then Republican Senator Bob Corker of Tennessee, who played a pivotal role in shepherding the deal through Congress. What did the JCPOA countries get? Real skin in the game, dollars, jobs, stability they could count on. Germany unlocked over 5 billion euros in annual trade, with 1.2 billion euros in machines and cars. The United Kingdom gained trade access and non-proliferation leadership. France backed 20 billion from Airbus plane sales, plus auto and energy contracts. Russia grabbed military sales, nuclear gigs at Fordo Fuel Enrichment Plant, one of Iran's most critical nuclear sites, and they secured arms deals with no rivals. China locked down cheap Iranian oil, its top source, keeping factories humming. These weren't feel-good abstractions. They were cold, hard economic lifelines that made the deal stick. Under the deal, Iran was indeed meeting its obligations, which effectively pushed back the timeline for Iran acquiring a nuclear weapon. Under the JCPOA, Iran was repeatedly found by the International Atomic Energy Agency, the IAEA, to be in compliance, including in May 2016, September 2016, and August 2018, with inspectors confirming that Iran had not exceeded the deal's limits on enriched uranium stockpiles, heavy water, or monitoring access. In fact, before the deal, Iran's estimated breakout time was only about 2 to 3 months. After implementation, U.S. officials said it had been pushed to 12 months or more, meaning Iran was roughly a year away from producing enough fissile material for one weapon if it chose to sprint for it. Enter Donald Trump and the Republican Party. Trump ran in 2015 and 2016 as the self-styled anti-war candidate, promising to stop dragging America into stupid forever wars. That message helped him wipe out former Florida Governor Jeb Bush, the heir to the Bush foreign policy legacy, and the brother of the president who helped bury this country in the Iraq and Afghanistan quagmire. In a deja vu of their healthcare debacle, they vowed to destroy the JCPOA with no replacement in sight. True to form, when Trump took office, one of his first acts as president was to withdraw from the JCPOA, making America less safe, eroding our credibility on the world stage, and bringing Iran closer to a nuclear weapon. Fast forward to 2020, Trump authorized the killing of Iranian General Qasem Soleimani, an act many Republicans cheered as strength, but which was in reality reckless and dangerous. Then in 2025, Trump, back in power, bombed Iran ostensibly to cure the same ills the JCPOA initially sought to address. By 2026, the United States killed the Ayatollah, parroting the same justification used in the summer of 2025. The logic was flawed, the reasoning circular, and Republicans continued to roll their eyes when reminded of the JCPOA that worked. Because let's face it, they didn't like it simply because President Obama was behind it. Was the JCPOA perfect? No, but it was a far better option than what we have now, a situation that has spiraled into an untenable quagmire. The JCPOA was far from a perfect solution, but it was a working solution. The Republicans, driven by political spite, threw the baby out with the bathwater, and now we're left picking up the pieces. To understand where we are, we have to start with the ugly truth. The Iran war is already a costly, destabilizing mess, and the United States is stuck in a dangerous stalemate where military pressure, sanctions, and negotiations are all happening at once. U.S. war spending is above $20 billion and climbing, with Pentagon requests for another $200 billion on the table, while the nationwide average price of regular gasoline has risen above $4 a gallon since late March, up from roughly $2.98 before the conflict even began. The Strait of Hormuz is the pressure point. Iran's closure of the strait cut into roughly 20% of global oil flows. Shipping has remained far below pre-war levels, and even when Tehran signaled openness to reopening the waterway, it tied that to an end to the U.S. blockade and a broader ceasefire. Trump rejected that offer and told advisors that he would keep the blockade in place until Iran accepted a deal on the nuclear issue, which means the war remains locked in a coercive standoff rather than moving toward a clean exit. In mid-April 2026, Trump publicly suggested the war might be, quote, very close to being over, end quote, while officials said talks were continuing through Pakistan and other intermediaries. By late April, the White House was floating the idea that Iran should first reopen Hormuz while postponing nuclear talks. Iran, for its part, offered to reopen the strait if the blockade were lifted and the war ended. Trump rejected that sequencing, insisting the blockade stay until Tehran agreed to a broader agreement on its nuclear program and regional behavior. The human and economic toll is already severe. In addition to raising the cost of gasoline, the war in Iran has also pushed up liquefied natural gas, shipping, airline, fertilizer, food, and consumer costs, because Hormuz is one of the world's most important energy choke points. That means this is no longer just a foreign policy problem, it's a kitchen table problem. And what makes this especially obscene is that the definition of victory keeps getting lower because the Trump administration has no real endgame. At first, the goal was regime change. Then it became nuclear disarmament. Now we're being told that sinking an aging navy somehow counts as success, even though victory in a war is supposed to mean one thing: using force to extract political concessions from your opponent. So far, we have gotten zero political concessions from Iran. They still have not meaningfully come to the table. The Strait of Hormuz remains closed, and Trump and his administration of sycophants still have no credible off-ramp. Americans have collectively spent about $22 billion more out of pocket on gasoline since the war began. Money that could have gone to rent, childcare, healthcare, savings, or literally any kind of investment in the future. But instead, it is being burned up at the pump. Add to that Trump's tariffs, the ACA subsidy cuts, and the fact that younger people are already struggling to build wealth in the first place, and the picture is brutal. This war is not just a foreign policy disaster, it is a direct tax on the next generation. Allies have also been far less willing to follow Trump than he seems to assume. Britain, France, Germany, Russia, China, and the EU had already spent years supporting the JCPOA's framework, and that coalition fractured once Trump walked away and turned diplomacy into a loyalty test. In the current war, the Trump administration has leaned heavily on unilateral pressure and blockades, but the lack of broad allied buy-in is precisely why the conflict has become so hard to resolve and so expensive to sustain. The reason the 2015 deal matters so much is that it was not sentimental. It was disciplined. It bought time, increased visibility, and reduced risk. The reason this war is so dangerous is that Trump has no comparable off-ramp. He likes escalation. He likes the posture of toughness, but he has not shown a serious strategy for ending the conflict once it started. Obama's diplomacy constrained a dangerous enemy, bought time, and kept the world inside a working framework. Trump blew it up, escalated the crisis, drove up costs, narrowed the exits, and now his supporters call the wreckage strength. One man used diplomacy to keep a war from ever starting. The other tore that framework apart, walked us straight into one, and then asked for an applause.